The weather's been nice. Yeah, no, not for us. I was just telling them, my husband's truck snapped his power steering, then his brakes let go, and it's Happy New Year.
All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on January 2nd, 2019. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien. Present. Alderman Kelly is here. Alderman Laws. Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderman Harriet Gathright. Present. And Mayor Donchis.
I'm here, and Alderman Laws contacted us to say that he's not feeling well tonight and therefore will not be attending. We have a public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to the committee? Apparently not. The first item is a communication from me, which given our procedural rules, there being no objection, I will accept this communication and place it on file. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for NPD Shooting Rand Decontamination Project. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to Strategic Environmental Services in the amount of $25,613. Funds are available in Department 150, Nashville Police Department, Building Trust Fund.
I think Ms. Smith is here. Why don't you come on up, just in case. So you've heard the motion and the contract is before you. Any discussion or questions for the PD? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding purchase of Nashua Police Department Bulletproof Vest. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase from Atlantic Tactical, Inc. in the amount of $42,465. Source of funding is Department 150, Police, 2017 and 2018 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant, and NPD Protective Clothing.
Any discussion? Questions? Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, I do have one. I have more experience with the fire department and gear, and I know the gear lasts 10 years. I imagine there's a life expectancy with these bulletproof vests equally as well, to make sure they're up top of the line and going to do what they're designed to do. Can you just tell us about that a little bit?
Yes, Eric Nordgren, Captain with the Nashville Police Department, Professional Standards Bureau. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, committee members. Ballistic vests typically have a 5-year manufacturer's warranty, and that's what we're going by, and these vests do have the 5-year warranty. So that's typically for our officers that are in service, the rotational point, and that's what we're projecting for the coming fiscal year, as well as any new hires that we may bring on. So that number encompasses both of those pools.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Thank you very much. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for emerging leaders in public health consultant engagement. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to Sojourn Partners in the amount of $51,865. Funds are available in Department 171, Community Services, Emerging Leaders in Public Health Grant.
So Ms. Bagley is here, Director of Public Health and Community Services, and these are grant funds, and I think I will just ask Ms. Bagley to explain what where the funds came from and what the grant is going to accomplish.
Yes, good evening. Bobby Bagley, Director of the Division of Public Health and Community Services. The funding that we have for this is through the Kresge Foundation, which is a grant award for a transformative project that's been awarded to the City of Nashua, to our Division of Public Health and Community Services, in the amount of $119,100. And out of that amount, the consultants that we would like to have work with us will be paid the $51,865 for their services to work with our division, leadership staff, as well as some of our community partners in the community.
Okay. Discussion, questions? I don't see anything. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And I think that's all that Ms. Bagley has tonight, right?
Yes.
That's it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for Crown Hill Pool rehabilitation. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to Gunnet Finish Supply in the amount of $125,000. Source of funding is Department 177, Parks and Recreation, FY18 CDBG funds, and general operating account.
Questions, discussion? Mr. Caggiano is here on this and on a later resolution, so if you have any questions or comments, Alderwoman Karen.
Thank you. Can you tell me when you're looking to get this started? Will it be done before pool season
Yes,
begins?
in the agreement, he has to be finished the first week of June.
Oh.
But with the weather the way it's been, it wouldn't surprise me if this keeps up, hopefully, that he'll get in there and start doing some of the demolition work early.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caggiano. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for primary tank upgrade project construction phase engineering services. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to Wright Pierce for an amount not to exceed $375,300. Funds are available in Department 169 Wastewater Fund, State Revolving Loan Fund.
And Mr. Boucher is here from the wastewater or the sewage treatment plant. He's the superintendent. Any questions or discussion on this item? Proposed contract. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kuchen, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract, did I already read that one? No. For primary tank upgrade project construction services. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and contingent upon Board of Aldermen approval, award the contract to Methuen Construction, Inc. in the amount of $3,629,340. Source of funding is WRF and the State Revolving Loan Fund.
And Mr. Boucher, why don't you, this is rather a big contract, so why don't you explain to the committee members what is going to be accomplished here?
Okay, thank you. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is for upgrades to 5 settling tanks, rather large settling tanks at the wastewater plant. This project consists of replacing all the internal parts, which consist of gears, chain drives. It also entails reconstruction of some of the concrete inside the tanks. It also includes the construction of a small building which will house the power for the drives and also the computer programming for the tanks. Currently, all that stuff is in a below-ground pipe gallery. It also consists of gates repairs and piping replacement, which are below ground in a pipe gallery. It's to improve the settling of these tanks also, because their original design was insufficient. There's reconstruction, there's upgrades to it to make it run more efficient. So there's going to be concrete fillets, they call them. It's just slopes inside the tank that have to be reconfigured to help the raker arms inside the tanks collect the sludge.
And how, what is the age of the existing tanks?
I'm not sure how far it goes back.
It may be
the-
back to the 80s?
Probably the 90s, sometime in the 90s, I think, when the primary, because the facility was done in phases. But yeah, you may be right, in the 80s. before me.
Yes, way before you. Alderman O'Brien.
Yes, you did say something, these are below grade, ground facilities right now, so the new construction will bring it above grade.
Just the computer portion of it, the PLCs and the computer program. We have a SCADA program, which allows everything to be monitored from inside our main administration building. Currently, all that stuff is below ground and not a weather-controlled environment, climate-controlled environment.
Follow up just with a comment, I was hoping that maybe we can eliminate some of the confined space hazards that exist, but it sounds like it's better to be below grade with this gas, correct?
Well, this is just the pipe gallery, which is some pumps down there, and some equipment that controls the gates that go up and down will be below ground. And some of the air, we also have air tanks below ground that provide air to another part of the facility. All the computer stuff will be above ground.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. So it sounds like the last system lasted us about 30 years. What do you think the life expectancy with this upgrade would be?
I'd say probably more than 30 years. The newer stuff is different, made of different materials, especially the stuff that's going to be below grade. There's less metal, more fiberglass, reinforced fiberglass and plastic. The chain mechanisms are all plastic. Some of the sprockets that are going to be below grade are also like a fiberglass plastic compound, so it can withstand the corrosive environment. The stuff above ground obviously will be on a maintenance schedule, so we'll get as much life out of it. But 30 years is a good, things do go bad, and also with the technology these days, they keep changing, become more efficient, and some things after 30 years they don't make parts for anymore, so it's it'll last. But whether there's going to be parts available for it, that's the thing we face in this field, is making parts for stuff forever.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding purchase of a raw sewage pump suction cover assembly. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase from Xylem Water Solutions USA, Inc. in the amount of $20,890. Funds are available in Department 169 wastewater.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for replacement heating units in control room and cafeteria. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase from Armand E. Limmer Co., Inc. in the amount of $15,574. Funds are available in Department 169 wastewater.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for wet weather gate repair. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to New Hampshire Hydraulics in the amount of $19,956. Source of funding is Department 169 wastewater collection.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding purchase of replacement grinder to primary digester recirculation feed line. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase from JWC Environmental in the amount of $13,282. Funds are available in Department 169 wastewater.
Alderwoman Karen.
Thank you. I have a question. Some of these change orders, because of the fact that you're asking for replacements of broken down equipment, has any of this equipment been maintained over the years, or is this just normal wear and tear that would cause these things to break?
Yeah, these do get maintained. There's very little maintenance on these particular grinders, and normally they can be sent out and rebuilt. Unfortunately, the way this one broke, the drive broke, and it broke to the point of it can't be rebuilt anymore. Or you could rebuild it, but on some of these things, it becomes the same cost to get a new one, so it's more beneficial to get a new one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all new parts versus rebuilding it.
Yes.
Just a comment so that people understand that, you know, the money that we're spending over here at wastewater is to benefit the city as a whole. This is a facility that's run 24/7, and without it, we'd have some real problems. But we also want to make sure that we're maintaining this equipment to its standards so that we're not spending a lot of money sooner rather than later. I'd like to see a 30-year
Yeah, on
hold
these,
on most of your
on these,
upgrades.
unfortunately, no.
Yeah,
But
okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're right. If this plant shut down, we'd be in,
Especially in my neighborhood.
the city would shut down.
Absolutely, literally.
Any further questions or discussion on this? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Alderwoman Kelly.
Communication from Dan Kukin, Purchasing Manager, regarding contract for gas tank evaluation. Mr. Mayor, I move to accept, place on file, and award the contract to McDermott CBI Services in the amount of $18,820. Source of funding is Department 169 wastewater collection.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. And that's the last of our wastewater issues. Thank you very much, Mr. Boucher.
Don't want to see.
Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, R 18099, authorizing the mayor to enter into a successor concession agreement with Nashua Collegiate Baseball, Inc. Alderwoman Kelly.
I move to recommend final passage.
Now, again, Mr. Caggiano is here for any discussion about this. Maybe it'd be best just to brief us on the new contract, its provisions versus the existing contract, and
Sure.
begin that way.
Nick Caggiano, Superintendent, Parks and Recreation. The contract with the Silver Knights basically has remained unchanged from the previous contract, other than one little item which we negotiated. They pay a fee of $1,000 per home game to us, and that goes into an events fund for the stadium that's used to produce events and pay for some upgrades. One of the things that's happened, and at first it took me a while to understand it, but we negotiated it down. When they get a rain out, they normally schedule a doubleheader. But when you have a doubleheader, it's not like Fenway Park where you go to see the Red Sox, where first game's over, everybody leaves, an hour or two goes by, and then the next game starts. They're basically there for the duration. So when they get a rain out, they really are playing double for one event. So we negotiated that at the end of the year, if there were any double headers that were caused by rain out, we would give them a credit back of half for or $500 for that one game, which is very fair. We've kind of been on the good side of this thing for the past 5 years. So other than that, it's remained the same. They prepay for the season, so I invoice them in February, and they're required to make their payment. I believe it's by March 1st. And we've had no issues with this ball club over the past 5 years with any financial problems at all. They've been great tenants.
Questions or comments? Alderwoman
You
Karen.
knew, huh? Thank you. I think they have been good tenants. I mean, we've dealt with other people. Do you see any problems, since they seem to be having a problem getting their schedule together because of their issues within the particular league they're in?
I'm not completely in the loop on that because it is a private business, but from what there's some inner struggles with a competitive league, and they're fighting for a team. That team is on Martha's Vineyard, as it said in the paper, and it's a difficult place to play anyway. So I think if they make some kind of agreement, which I'm sure they will, it'll probably be beneficial for both the team and the league.
Okay, I just hate to see them not
They have, when they
participate.
go down, they have to schedule the ferry, and it's a hard
Yeah,
place to play
yeah,
an
just to
away
go to-
game.
Right, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, the motion is to recommend final passage of the resolution. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caggiano. New business ordinances, we have none. Record of expenditure.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period December 1st, 2018 to December 13th, 2018, and for the period December 14th, 2018 to December 27th, 2018.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Any general discussion items? Next is public comment. There are no members of the public to comment, so we'll go by that. Remarks by Alderman. Alderwoman Kelly. Oh, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to remind my fellow aldermen and the mayor, there is pending legislation that's coming up that's going to affect this particular committee, and that is the $25,000 limit to which, and I think this agenda really kind of highlights of what we sat and heard tonight of, I think there were 6 items that were under to 25,000. And the amount of man hours that goes into prepare that type of documents, and Mr. Coogan could probably relate to that. But it would be more, I think, expedient and put the hands into where it needs, the decisions where it needs to be made by our wonderful division directors to come up with this thing. So as we follow it through the process, that would have left us with 5 stuff. I'm not trying to lighten our load, but what I'm trying to say, I think this will make our committee more efficient to get down with that $25,000 limit. So hopefully it passes through committee, and we'll see where we go from there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman O'Brien. Alderwoman Karen.
Yeah, that piece of legislation comes before personnel next Monday,
Oh,
7
good.
o'clock.
Thank you,
Just so
Alderman.
you'll
Thank
know.
you.
Okay.
Anyone else have remarks? If not, Alderman O'Brien.
Oh, a motion to adjourn.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Happy New Year.
Then the meeting is adjourned at 7:23 PM.